Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Never been here before, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. Everybody else, welcome back, welcome back. Important little issue to talk about today for me because I'm absolutely disgusted that the former House of Representatives leader, Anthony Weiner, is trying to run again in politics. Okay, if you remember Anthony Weiner, he was sexting with a 15-year-old girl. Actually, he was sexting with several minors. He was convicted. We're going to get into him. He spent time in jail. Well, this morning, I turned on the television and the show that I detest, The View, popped on, and The View had Anthony Weiner on as a guest. And when I heard the audience clapping for this man, when they introduced him, clapping for Anthony Weiner, who was sending pictures of his penis to minors, to several of them, who was having 15-year-old girls fondle themselves on Skype for him, when he was sending pictures of his penis to other girls as well who were minors, as he was in the House of Representatives. The View has the audacity to have this man on their television show and allow him to try and attempt to get back into politics. Okay. If you remember, it's just absolutely disgusting to see. He tried running for mayor a few years ago. Twice. He tried running for mayor twice. That didn't work. He failed at both of those, thank God, you know. And now he's trying to run again in politics and thinks that people are going to forget that this guy is a sexual pervert. He is a registered sex offender for life. He says, "Oh well, I got over my sickness." At the end of this, I'll play the View. I will play the interview from The View. But first, let me just show you a little video from when he was convicted and when he was going to prison all those years ago. Check out this quick little video.
Any comments, Mr. Weiner?
Do you think the judge will send you to prison, Mr. Weiner?
How you feeling this morning, Anthony?
You're going to get an ice on me.
Guys,
I just kind of in charge said that it was best for the Democratic Party. This time
I
around.
voted for everything. I'm going to keep the rest of this stuff to myself. Whoops, careful. Thank you, Mr. Weiner.
You're welcome.
So how's the campaign going?
It's going great.
I frankly have been encouraged by how many people say they're prepared to give me a second chance.
So maybe that will refresh your memory a lot. He was sentenced to 21 months for that, for sexting these girls. He was sexted 21 months and for prison, transferring obscene material to a minor. That's what the charge was, transferring obscene material to a minor. And of course, I'm sure he got easy charges. He was facing up to 10 years. But they give these sex offenders breaks anyway, because half of them are into it. Half of the politicians are into perversion and into screwing around with minors and into hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein and into taking flights to private islands to molest little children. Tons of them are into that. And then the witnesses end up disappearing. There's been tons of that's a whole different story. He ended up serving 15 months. We'll stick to Weiner right now. He served 15 months of the 21 months. Democrat out of New York. He was released in 2019 after pleading guilty. His name was Carlos Danger. That's what he called himself, Carlos Danger. That's what he was doing when he was sexting these minors, these little girls. If you have a little child at home, if you have a teenage daughter at home, if you have a teenage son at home, how can you ever think about voting for a man like this, for voting for a pervert, for allowing a child predator to run in politics? Politics is so disgusting. It's so terrible. You know, he was contacting them through online messaging, through video chats, and the girl had made it clear to him that she was a minor. She was a girl out of North Carolina. She made it clear to him that he was a minor, but he didn't care. And now he's eyeing a political comeback. That's what this guy is trying to do. They think that if a few years pass, people will let it go. Remember, as I said, this guy is a registered sex offender, you know, former member of the House of Representatives. You know, his wife, who was involved in her own political turmoil, Huma Abedin, who worked for Hillary Clinton, she divorced him when all this happened. He was caught up in 3 different sexting scams. He was in 3 different sexting scams, this guy, you know, but the fact is that politics in general, especially in New York goes down as one of the most corrupt states in the United States of America. That's not my opinion. That was from several surveys that were taken of government bodies throughout the United States of America. New York State goes down as the most corrupt state inside of the United States of America. You know, I mean, look at Eric Adams. Look at our mayor, Eric Adams. The guy can't even form a proper sentence. He's on television calling white people crackers. He was indicted for accepting money for Turkey. He was indicted for accepting money for bribes, right? And then, as we know, everything gets dismissed. Everything gets dropped. We had Andrew Cuomo, sexual harassment, forced to leave. He's trying to make a comeback too, and he'll probably make it. He's going to make it because people are so stupid. They're going to put this guy back in office just because of his name, Cuomo. Meanwhile, he's got a half a dozen women that were saying this guy is a pervert. This guy's been sexually harassing us his whole time when he was in office. You know, and the point is that they have no morals, right? That you can educate a man in mind, and when you educate a man in mind and not in morals, you create a menace to society. Remember that. You could educate a man in mind all you want. If he doesn't have any morals, you create a menace. And this is dangerous because a person with no morals, if they're intelligent, can do twice the damage of a person who is dumb, right? So you had Cuomo, you had Eric. The list is just all politicians. You know, for those of you that go out and vote for these politicians and think that they really care about you, I mean, you could back up and look at someone like Bill Clinton. People, that's how stupid people are, that they love Bill Clinton and adore Bill Clinton after Bill Clinton was sleeping with a teenager. He was having sex with a teenager as he was in his 50s in the White House, as his wife and children were down the hallway, and lies to the American people, and then afterwards they want to pay him $200,000 to give a speech at a dinner. He gets paid to give speeches. Who would want to hear from someone like that? The guy was a disgrace. You had Governor Spitzer involved in prostitution with the taxpayer dollars, out as he's working as governor, sleeping with prostitutes. You had Sheldon Silver, corruption. He was the speaker. He was the assembly speaker, Sheldon Silver, arrested for corruption, sentenced, guilty. Dean Skelos. You remember Dean Skelos? He was the Senate Majority Leader, sentenced to 51 months in prison. Bribery, extortion. Alan Hevesy, the New York State Assemblyman, arrested, found guilty, pay-to-play scheme. Parole Commissioner, Chris Ortloff. You ever heard of Chris Ortloff? Google Chris Ortloff, the New York State Parole Commissioner, who was arrested by FBI agents for trying to buy a baby to sexually molest. He thought the FBI agents were drug addicts. The FBI agents were posing as drug addicts who were willing to sell their child to be sexually abused. And this parole commissioner, New York State parole commissioner, Chris Ortloff, meets with them in a hotel room. And when the FBI agents say to Chris Ortloff, "Is she young enough for you?" He says, "I'll take him in diapers. The younger, the better." This is a parole commissioner, right? And all these governors, all these mayors, all these House speakers, all these assemblymen, all these representatives get away with murder. They get away with doing the most insane, unethical, immoral acts that you could ever see. Don't let this guy, Anthony Weiner, get back into politics. This guy, a sex offender, can't be cured. I believe that. A sex offender always has that inside of him. He had the opportunity, he will sleep with a 12-year-old girl. This guy has the opportunity, he will sleep with a teenager. And I wouldn't be surprised if it happens to him again. These politicians are the worst of the worst. This is why it's set up. The government is set up just like the mafia, a mafia family. There's the mafia boss, right? Who is like John Gotti. Then you have the president. Then you have the underboss, was his rat, Sammy the Bull. Then you have the vice president. Then you have, in the mafia, you have the captains in the mafia, the ones who are captains under the underboss. That in the U.S. government, it's congressmen. Then you have the sergeants in the mafia. I mean, not the sergeant, the enforcers. Then you have the Senate. Then you have the soldiers in the mafia. That's the government's U.S. Army, U.S. military, the soldiers for the ones who do the killing for the boss. They're set up the exact same way. The mafia was in control of drugs. Then the government took it over. They made it legal. The mafia was in charge of running numbers and the lotto and the numbers game. Then the government took it over. The mafia was in charge of alcohol during Prohibition, Al Capone, making $30 million a year in the date of 1930. Then the government comes in. They take it over. So every time you buy a beer, every time you buy a shot, every time you buy liquor, the government gets their cut. It's no difference. They are a mob. And they are raping people like crazy. You know, I understand people waving the American flag and wanting to be American, you know what I mean, and rooting for the country. I agree for that. But don't root for these politicians. They're garbage. They're trash. And the ones that get in there with good intentions, the people that go into government with good intentions, they get swallowed up right away by the machine, because the government is a machine. People get into government to accept bribes. Like, I'll give you an example. They're about to rebuild Penn Station in New York City, right? They're talking about $1 trillion to rebuild Penn Station. How many people do you think are stuffing millions and millions in their pocket? Because it's all about, they get into government for the contracts. They'll accept $1 million here and they'll give permission to build. They'll accept $3 million here. They change this law. They accept $5 million here. You could have permission to do this. That's what politicians do. Just accept bribes. Accept bribes. I mean, I should do a whole video just on that. My point is this. I'm going to put the video from The View so you could hear this jerk off trying to get back into politics, Anthony Weiner. I'm going to put it up there, but he should be ashamed, and anyone that clapped for him on that show should be ashamed. He is disgusting. He is a disgusting child abuser, sex offender, registered sex offender, and the nerve of this television show, The View, to put him on there. Whoever watched that show is incompetent. You're just, forget it. I'm not even going there. I'm not even going there. Check out the video in closing. It's quite a few minutes long, but you see for yourself what a moron this guy is. And don't let him try and convince you. What a jerk off. I decided not to put the clip of Anthony Weiner on The View on this video right here. I don't even want to give him that platform to speak. If you want to see it for yourself, just go on YouTube, put in Anthony Weiner on The View, and you could see what he had to say on there. But I don't want to give the guy the platform to speak on my channel. And so I decided not to put that loser up here. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, guys. And be well. All my best.